Today on Locked On Rockies, for the second time, if my math is right, and you all know how I am with math, the Rockies have won back-to-back series.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 18th day of September in the year 2024. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Rockies podcast and on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies, just like Jim Kucera, who says maybe they should add Bigfoot to the jerseys. And that's when we were talking about the retiring of the City Connect jerseys. That'd actually be kind of cool. A little nod to the Avalanche and stuff as well. Maybe a little passing of the torch there. And I don't guess it's not passing of the torch, but the Avs don't embrace Bigfoot like they used to. And Kyle here says, my over 59.5 is shaping up. If they blow it, I'll never watch another Rockies game in my life. LOL. Well, you'll be watching today's game, I'm sure, with lots of interest, but looking pretty good right there, as the road to 61 is looking pretty good as well. But be part of the show. Fire off your Rockies hot takes. It's the best way to help support the show. When you go to the YouTube channel, when you like the videos, when you watch the videos there, when you subscribe on YouTube, it's the best way to help the show. Easiest way to help the show. Also, another easy way, just listening on your favorite streaming services and leaving those 5-star reviews. I'm Paul Holden, your Rockies fan extraordinaire. Been bringing you this daily Rockies podcast for over 3 seasons now, and been bringing you Rockies fandom my entire life. Well, not you specifically, but the world. Today on the show, of course, we're going to talk about the Rockies beating the Diamondbacks. The Bud Black becoming the winningest manager in Rockies history as part of this. It's another good sign for Ezekiel Tovar and Hunter Goodman and the Rockies offense in general and the Rockies defense, shaking up the playoff race now. 2 teams that came in here that could not afford to lose series to the Rockies, they have lost. And for the second time this season, the Rockies have back-to-back series wins. So let's just kind of start with building off of what we've been talking about for a while here. And again, yes, the Rockies are a bad baseball team, bottom of the barrel, but Patrick Lyons tweeted out yesterday that the Rockies, for the first time, I think since April, are not on a 100-loss series pace, or a 100-loss season pace. It was like 99 losses still. It was still very close for what, like 63 and 99, I think, what the Rockies will finish, which is very likely, which is what, could happen. But the point is, where the series and this go and even that road trip, the consistency of trends of improvement are being shown. Remember, we talked about all season long, we've wanted consistency, and this month the Rockies have brought some consistency so far. They have to finish it again. Another thing to bring this season kind of full circle. What's another thing I said? The biggest test are the Dodgers, and you have 6 games to finish your season against the Dodgers. You already passed this mini test. You passed the midterm right here, which was Arizona. An Arizona team that's good, that's had a strong second half, but a little shaky here going down to finish the season, and in a situation which they couldn't lose. But what did you do? You beat them. You handled it. You played postseason style baseball for this series, and you got yourself a series win with a chance at the sweep. And you really messed up the playoffs for Arizona. That was a backbreaker, I think. I don't know if necessarily a full backbreaker, but dropping back-to-back games there to the Rockies. Arizona is now, let's see, they are just hanging on with the Mets and there. So obviously still in it. Still in the playoffs, but Atlanta is looming, only 2 games back now. Cubs there. It's going to be a dogfight there. And if you're Arizona, you really can't afford to lose. You can't get swept. 4-6 over their last 10 for Arizona there. Mets are on a 2-game winning streak. Padres are sitting pretty good. I mean, they're not safe yet. At only a 2.5 game lead over both of them, I believe. Yeah, because both teams are lock solid there. The New York Mets 83-68, the Arizona Diamondbacks 83-68. So I guess backbreaker was a bit of an exaggeration, but it certainly made it more tough, and it opened the door for Atlanta a little bit more. And if you're Arizona, you're sitting here coming up and playing. Let's see, who do you finish against? Milwaukee, San Francisco, and then San Diego. Man, that's going to be a thrilling series to end the season right there, with playoff implications all the way, all around in that one. So the Rockies impressed in this series. I mean, so far. I mean, I know there's another one, but still, this was good baseball. The Rockies thumped the Diamondbacks yesterday. The Rockies won a hard-fought game in game 1. That's exactly the type of stuff that the Diamondbacks have to be incredibly frustrated right now. They have killed the Rockies this season. I mean, like, not even close. When you look at the scores between these two teams before these games, in the series, the other series there, the Diamondbacks outscored the Rockies 16-1, 7-3. And then let's see, another instance, 11-4. They've hung and done damage to the Rockies a lot. But instead, it's the Rockies doing the damage and holding the Diamondbacks to only 4 runs in this series. 264 team batting average for Arizona with 194 home runs, almost over 1,300 hits, an OBP of 337, a team slugging of 440. And the Rockies have held that team to 4 runs over the last 2 starts. And that includes a spot start from Antonio Senzatella, who just came back from there and turning to your bullpen in a situation. And that includes Ryan Feltner, who has struggled at Coors Field, going through it a little bit, not exactly the sharpest 100% with the 2 walks and a home run and an earned run. Can't remember if it was a home run. I can't remember how the Diamondbacks played that first run. I think it was a solo shot, or the solo shot might have came later in the game. Regardless, Ryan Feltner handled Coors Field, put the Rockies in a position to win, and the Rockies backed him up. And then the Rockies turned to the young bullpen, and the young bullpen gets it done. Peralta, Hill, Chavihi all come in there. 2 strikeouts there from Hill and Chavihi. And Hill was the one. He gave up his first home run. That was who was the solo shot was later in the game. But he bounces back. He makes the play. You know, it's exactly what we were trying to see. It was an RBI ground out. That's how it was on there. But for Ryan Feltner, that's got to feel really good. Your team backs you up at home. You get the home win, and you prove that you can beat a good team at home. That's got to feel great for him as he's gone through the struggles of Coors Field. So yes, in the grand scheme of things, the Rockies are still 59-93, still in situations where there's still plenty of flaws and plenty of things to point out. But they're playing arguably their best baseball of the season right now. They're highlighting young guys. Hunter Goodman is homering his way into the lineup. You can't sit there and look at Hunter Goodman and say that guy's not ready to hit. He continues to crush. I think he's got like 5 home runs in his last 24 at-bats. Another stat from Patrick Lyons or Patrick Saunders, one of the Patricks covering the Rockies. So I'm jazzed up a little bit more this morning because that was a good game. That was a good win yesterday for the Rockies. Had moments where they had to handle adversity, had situations where they needed to capitalize and get runs driven in, and they did that. Highlighted by the fact that Ezequiel Tovar is literally just, I mean, when you get it, as a Rockies fan, right? And we've felt this before. It's hard to get super excited, but with the players that have come up that have just been super exciting, that have shown the talent, and then when they get to the major league level, they impress. Tulo, Arenado, Story, LeMahieu. There's and you can go deeper. Again, I know that there are more prospects and more players before those guys, but remember, I was more of a youngster growing up with the team there, so I wasn't as familiar with transactions and such back in the day. But the point is, Rockies fans know when there's a special talent on the field. When there's a guy in purple that's playing well and it's not Coors Field, it's not whatever, it's real deal, you kind of know because there's been plenty of examples. I just gave you a few of them. Ezequiel Tovar is special. Ezequiel Tovar is going to be the guy that we talk about for years. And Brenton Doyle's going into that again. He keeps making insane. He just makes every play in center field, it looks like. But compared to how I felt in September of last year, compared to September of this year, it's different. There's a lot of reasons to feel different about the Colorado Rockies and start feeling confident in the possibilities, mind you, underline circle possibilities, because that's all they are. It's just possibilities. It's nothing. It has to be demonstrated and shown. But the possibilities of the Rockies getting back into contention, getting back into playing good baseball, being an interesting team, fighting through a full season, are becoming a little more interesting, becoming a little more possible. And I think this September is going to, if the team plays well, it's going to lead to a very interesting offseason for the Colorado Rockies. We haven't talked about the history, and I need to make sure that I spend some time here on this next topic, because Bud Black becomes the winningest manager in Rockies history. And with my critical nature of Bud Black this season and of late, I want to make sure we at least pay the proper respect for the all-time winningest manager in Rockies history, because he does deserve that, and he does deserve the props here for doing what he's done for the Rockies and sticking with it too. We're going to do that coming up in segment number 2 of today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, and they got you covered here for all your props, your futures, your postseason action. I mean, if you're getting interested in women's hoops, there's got to be all sorts of stuff going on over there. It is just prime time for that. I believe the playoffs right around the corner, as there's gonna be all sorts of stuff going down to the wire there. Baseball heating up for the playoffs as well. If you want to get your futures in, maybe take a couple of risks on some stuff to see if you can win big. You never know. Check it all out for yourself at FanDuel.com. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook's also got something different for you right now. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is the best way to buy tickets, folks, for all your events. Plain and simple. It's simple, it's easy, and convenient. You're going to know all of the prices because you're going to toggle that all-in pricing. So you're going to know when you're searching through the app, you're going to toggle that all-in pricing on. And while you're searching through, you're going to see exactly where you're going to sit for exactly the price. And that's why I love Game Time. And maybe you want to see something new. Maybe you want to do something different. Game Time is a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. You can see your seat from the seat view. It's a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. The terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire up your Rockies hot takes, and we're also thanking you for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB. Our guy Sully's got you covered for all things Major League Baseball there, so don't miss out on that. And for all your Rockies play-by-play action, SiriusXM and the SiriusXM app has got you covered. Bud Black sets Rockies history after the game yesterday. It is his 535th win. That just puts him just ahead of Clint Hurdle for the most wins in Rockies history. Now, Bud Black certainly doesn't have the World Series there, but in the tenure of Bud Black, that's the thing. I think this season has been a lot of frustration with Bud Black and maybe the last few ones and bubbling it up there. But the one thing about Bud Black is Bud Black never gave up on the Rockies. He's never given up on guys. He's never, well, maybe that's not necessarily true. I still disagree with some of the lineup stuff. But to stick here and win 535 games with the Rockies is meaningful. It's impactful. It's also convoluted. It's also complicated to the fact with 6 straight losing seasons and the last season as well. And with the way the season started complicates the legacy a little bit, but it's not just Bud Black's legacy that's complicated by that. It's just anybody affiliated with the Rockies. You can't sit there and just point to Clint Hurdle's successes without ignoring all of the time that he spent with bad Rockies teams and losing Rockies teams. I mean, Bud Black has proven that you can teach pitching at altitude. Bud Black has shown that given the right circumstances and the right combination of guys, you can make it to the playoffs with the Colorado Rockies. And it's something that, and Bud Black has also set the expectation that Coors Field isn't an excuse. He isn't. I mean, you can't just sit there and lean back and just say, well, Coors Field, what are you going to do? No, it's you have to step up, you have to perform, and you have to get the job done. And yes, we'd like more wins. And yes, there's some issues I have with lineup construction and things like that. But Bud Black has stuck it out for a long time. He's I believe he's one of the longest tenured managers in the league still. And that's it. And for him to earn that marker, that is earned. To have the most wins as a manager in franchise history is earned. I mean, that talks about commitment. He stuck with this program. He didn't turn away. And you can sit there as much as be frustrated by the Rockies' ultimate loyalty pledges. You also can sit there and respect it a little bit. I mean, you would want to be respected that way as an employee and as someone that's dedicated a lot of time and energy into a place. I mean, I get that. You'd want that reciprocated. Sports, it's a little different, especially as sports fans. We're a little bit different in that sense. But that does go to show that there's things that there's reasons why Bud Black has been able to stick with the Rockies so long. There's a reason why the Rockies really believe in him. There's a reason why people speak so highly of Bud Black and what he's done. And I also kind of hope that this is an opportunity for Bud Black this is the chance to move on. For him and for the Rockies, celebrate this. Because now it's just now with both the Rockies and with Bud Black, it's about adjusting and building for that next step. And it's just the question of how confident are you in that next step. This is this in reality, and it was great to hear the players that led the celebration. Kyle Freeland, German Marquez, Charlie Blackmon. Those guys gotta love Buddy Black. Those guys have to absolutely love that guy. And he means a lot to a lot of players on that team. He's clearly a good mentor to these players. The one thing that you can say for sure about Bud Black, even amidst the struggles and that stuff, that guy has kept a locker room together. The Rockies have never really seemed to have problems in which the locker room during these really tough times is like a vile place, is like an anger. I mean, there's probably anger, there's frustration, there's a lot of things, but it wasn't a place where you don't hear a lot about. You've never really heard toxic stuff in the Rockies locker room, players only meetings. I think they did have a players only meeting during the bad stretch to start the season. That's what teams do. I do think that Bud Black, one of the big successes that Bud Black has had is, I mean, even with the Rockies being in the position they're in right now, that team's got chemistry. That team likes playing with each other. That team enjoys being around each other. That team roots for each other and builds each other up. They are friends on that team. And the Rockies have always really been that's been the case. And maybe you sit there and you say that's that's just an excuse for losing. You're just excusing losing. I mean, I guess. But I do think that that's the strength of a manager to have a positive or a good clubhouse, even amidst historically bad stretches and losing seasons and tough parts of seasons. I think that to have throughout your tenure, Nolan Arenado situation, probably a little different, but throughout most of it being positive interactions within the clubhouse, I mean, and such, Bud Black plays a role in that. The media likes talking to him. Everyone, I mean, he has done a good job overall. Overall, yes. Because it's just a complicated legacy when you're here as long as you are with someone like the Rockies. You sit there and you celebrate Clint Hurdle, but you don't ignore you can't ignore the losing with the Rockies. And that has happened a lot under Bud Black, but at the same time, I think Bud Black is a net positive. He has been an overall positive for the organization. Like I said, pitching development, battling Coors Field narrative, building solid clubhouses. I mean, there are things that you like in his managerial style and him as a person. Let's help the Rockies. So props to Buddy. And we'll talk about one of the other interesting things this offseason. That would be an interesting one. Because I really do feel like if the extension was going to happen, it would have happened by now. Or it's going to happen when they come back from LA. Announce it then. If it's going to happen. And I think I'm just going to put myself in the if. It certainly can. But like this seems like a good send-off moment for Bud Black, especially for him to just go try, as the Rockies are looking to start building upwards again. I think that Bud Black can take his solace in hitting this milestone, and if they finish with a strong month, finishing knowing that he helped reset the course at the end for the Rockies. Because the Rockies have a chance to finish above 500 at home this season if they keep playing well in the last few series here, and on the same time, they have a chance to finish above 500 in September, and that would be against only good teams, basically. So that would feel pretty good too, I'd imagine. All right, let's take a quick break. Let's talk about the fact that this is the first time the Rockies have won back-to-back series wins since the 7-game winning streak all that time ago, and look ahead to today's game to finish up today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, like Arena Club. For most of us that like collecting cards, the idea of spending $2,000 or more on Ezekiel Tovar rookie card just isn't in the cards. I like to collect. I do love to collect some cards, but that's some serious money to drop. Thanks to slab packs from arenaclub.com. Now it's possible to score gem mints for a fraction of their retail price. Every card that you list was hit from last week's Arena Club slab pack drops. Arena Club is the only repack that provides real value, a complete view of all possible cards, and a clear hit rate for each one. After your pulls are revealed, they'll immediately be placed in your showroom for safekeeping, selling, trading, or auction. The Arena Club grading process is accurate, fast, and transparent, with a full grade rationale provided and explanation of how your card was scored. Whether you're buying, selling, trading, or displaying, Arena Club is the card collecting platform you have to check out. Right now, you can get 10% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/LockedOnMLB and use code LockedOnMLB. That's arenaclub.com/LockedOnMLB, code LockedOnMLB for 10% off your first purchase at arenaclub.com. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanking you for making us your first listen of the day and reminding you to go make Locked On MLB your second listen of the day and to not miss any of your Rockies play-by-play action on SiriusXM in the SiriusXM app. Rockies win back-to-back series for the first time since, oh boy, let's get the calendar back up here. See when that 3-game or that 7-game winning streak was back in the first half of the season. That was back in May when the Rockies won back-to-back series. That was the first time. And that was the last time that the Rockies had done it up until just now. Yes, massive problem, absolutely. But it's building off of what is forming to be arguably the best stretch of baseball for the Rockies this season. And it started off this month, started off tough, 3-game losing streak to start off the month. And now the Rockies have responded to that 3-game losing streak by winning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of the last 9, 10, 11, 12 games. Pretty darn good. And that's yes, a lot of home ball. That's also a lot of away ball. Since that 3-game losing streak, that's 2 road series and that's 2 home series. You've won 3 out of 4 series in that time, something you also haven't done all season. And you're performing with a variety of young guys that have fully taken over and fully reinvigorated this team, fully reinvigorated the bullpen, fully reinvigorated the offense. And yes, the offense isn't blowing people away, it isn't blowing numbers out, and still has a shutout, still has a couple of blanks in this month as well. Rockies have been shut out twice in the month of September, including an 11-0 shelling at the hands of the Detroit Tigers. But they've also bounced back and fought back and shown consistency and huge home runs with good, timely, clutch hitting, like we saw against Chicago and Milwaukee. They went in and they handled business and Arizona in game 1. 4 hits. It's all they needed to steal a win away from Arizona. And then yesterday, put the thump on them. 8 runs there. They scored 6 runs against Chicago, 9 runs against Chicago. Showing that when you come to Coors Field, you better be ready. You better be ready to pitch. You better be ready to hit. Because the boat race might get on. And teams have not kept up right now. And it's a small sample size. I understand that. I don't ignore the rest of the season, but even if you zoom out and you still look at the second half of the season is still in a much better spot than the first half in some areas. The 7-game winning streak is really the big bright spot. The Rockies have had a couple of tough stretches here with the in the second half of the season. Longest losing streak being a 5 back at the end of July. But after that, the Rockies hadn't lost more than, a couple of 3-gamers there, which is unfortunate. 3-game losing streaks, bad stretches for the Rockies. But in the first half, that was the norm. 3-game losing streaks, 4-game losing streaks. I mean, I'm just doing a quick count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. 10 times in the first half of the season, the Rockies had losing streaks of at least 3 or more. In the second half of the season, it's happened 1, 2. It's happened twice. So yes, it's silver linings. It's finding things, but this is development. This is improvement. This is better baseball. This is what we want to see. And if you especially, and I know this applies to some games in the first half of the season as well, but you take out some of those absolute blunders and you're sitting even prettier in situations. But the Rockies are to fight back, to not get swept, to not go through week-long stretches where they're losing games. That's improvement. 10 3+ losing streaks in the first half of the season to only 2 in the second half. That matters. That's important. And they got a chance at a sweep today to really make it a pain in the butt for Arizona here. And but again, if you're Arizona, this is the matchup. It's the Austin Gomber at home matchup during a day game. It's so hold on to your butts. Austin Gomber has to prevent the long ball. It's his biggest issue. So if he can do that and get his strikeouts, he'll be all right. Rockies going up against Eduardo Rodriguez. He's pitched about 34 innings only so far this season, 5.5 ERA with a whip of 1.54, 13 walks, 25 strikeouts, 5 home runs. So again, there's some exploitation to be had there for the Rockies as they look for win number 60, and a win today would put them a game below 500 at home this season. So we'll see if the Rockies are able to pull it off and get the win before they head to LA for their final road series of the year. Folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for joining us and making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB. But if you need more Colorado sports coverage, go check out Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, and Locked On Buffs, all free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.